Hello, we are here. Not Your Average Lives is bringing you a live show today. And this is my first time doing the show live, bloopers and all. So everybody, I figure everybody has a heart. So if we have any bloopers, I have Kelly West joining me. And Kelly, I have gotten to know through a shared mastermind group we're in. We're both business owners, totally different fields. But I love her to death, and she is in my age. And that's actually one thing that's been really interesting for me. And I don't know about you, Kelly, but joining a group that has a lot of older people in it.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised when I went to the first event, looked around, I was like, wow, I don't feel like I'm around all millennials anymore.
Right.
But everybody in the group is so interesting, and they actually inspired me to start this show, and particularly the people in my demographic, because they have a message and they're all doing something different that's wonderful, and they have inspiring stories of change at midlife. And Kelly is just another example, and of people that are really, I like to say, up-leveling their life and helping others. So Kelly in particular, her field is she's an oncology nurse. And I have a lot of questions for her because I think it's really a field that must be very hard. But and the nursing field in general, I think is hard because it's a field of real service. And so, major props to all the nurses out there. So if anybody is here watching and is a nurse, yeah, like smiley face, love, heart, whatever for you.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know, and so what Kelly does in particular is, well, she's been obviously a nurse in the traditional nursing field, but she is actually moving into an area where she has an online business supporting people who are going through some sort of cancer struggle, and particularly those adults who have children or grandchildren who are suffering from cancer. And I imagine that is really the hardest demographic, because you're talking about a parent. I mean, it's one thing when we have something we're struggling with, but when somebody we love more than anything in the world, like our children, is struggling, I can't imagine. Yeah. So welcome, first of all.
Thank you for having me, Lori. I'm so excited to be here.
You're welcome. And so tell me, first of all, how did you get started? And I always like to say age, because we should celebrate our age. And Kelly is just the big 50.
We're in the new decade.
It was my best decade. So I'm like excited for you because it's going to be great. So how did you actually get started, and how long have you been nursing?
Yeah, so I have actually been a nurse for close to 25 years, which is crazy. And the majority of that has been in pediatric oncology. I currently am not practicing as a pediatric oncology nurse. However, I've done that for 17-ish of those 25 years. Right now, I still work with at a children's hospital, and I still work on another end of things, helping kids prevent infections from when they're in the hospital. But my love has always been with pediatric oncology. And in the last, I guess I started this journey of business and sort of online, actually in the health and wellness space, about 2014, and started helping other nurses and colleagues of mine really up-level their health and wellness. I was getting great results and feeling amazing. And so I really loved that piece, because it was getting back to taking care of others or working with others and helping others. And that part I really, really loved. But I knew there was more that I wanted to do. And I knew that there was still always this kind of naggingness to be part of that pediatric oncology world. And I still keep in contact with a lot of parents that I took care of their kids many years ago. And as we were talking and I was kind of interviewing them, really seeing how even, 5, 10, 15 years after their child's diagnosis, they were still a lot of times dealing with so much, worry and anxiety and kind of like stress, post-traumatic stress symptoms, really. And at that point, there's a lot of resources, of course, when your child's going through the acute phase of their therapy. But 10 years out, not so much, but they're still yet dealing with it, whether, parent, grandparent at that time, whatever. And so that's where I felt like there was that need and a place where I could help. So that's where I'm really building my business up, working with clients in not only just pediatric cancer or pediatric oncology, but, any parent that really has a, child with a chronic illness or a life-threatening illness and is looking for that support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting because I remember we were talking about this and I was like, yeah, nobody really realizes the after effect. Even if your child has recovered,
yeah,
there is that. And I didn't share the story with you, but my daughter suffered from a double pulmonary embolism on the night before her 21st birthday, and she was rushed to the hospital. And she almost died. And I started getting anxiety attacks. And I think, people don't realize that it can really affect you mentally. And I think with cancer, like she recovered and she was able to get on medication that would prevent it. And like the chances of her having it again, even though sometimes you're more susceptible to it, but like with cancer, the fact that, for 5 years too, you have that 5-year window, and then I think it's always there.
Yeah. Totally.
So that's
totally. I think, and that's the thing that it never really goes away. Most parents that I've worked with and talked with, it's just this always little bit underlying feeling. And it never really goes away, even if their kids are doing great. And a lot of times their kids are like, off at college, doing fantastic. And they're like, what's your problem, mom? Like, why can't you just move on? And they're sitting there like, I can't move on. It's become their identity. It's become a part of them, that caretaker. Of course, as moms, you do everything you can for your kids. And then when they're like, la and doing fine, you're like, wait a sec, what's my role now? So that's a big piece of the change that I see happening as well with some of them.
Yeah. And so I bet it's a strain on a marriage as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you the percentage of, parents that come in, when they're a child, and everybody's a different experiment, but, the divorce rate, separation rate of parents that are going through, whether it's cancer or really any kind of life-threatening illness, is much higher than, not going through that. So it definitely puts a strain on the families, for sure.
Now, is your program focused on women parents or female parents, or does it do for?
Yeah, I think the majority of clients I've worked with are mostly moms. I have had a dad or two, be interested, and I've worked with them a little bit. I've known them, but yeah, definitely moms. I think because we certainly connect on that level. But I'm open to working with moms or dads, either one.
I think women are more connectors, so especially in the online space when it comes to emotions.
For sure. Yeah, the dads are not so open to what's still going on with them, and and it's difficult to share. And I feel for them; they need just as much support. And I love the dads that have opened up and been able to say, "Hey, this is where I'm at," and I could really still use some support. But it's definitely more a mom thing to be able to open up like that.
And I think it's interesting too that you started thinking about, like, you got into the online space in terms of business because you started doing health and fitness, which is exactly the same as me.
Yeah.
And then after feeling so good, I think that and that's why I did this video that said, you need to change on the outside before you have the internal transformation. Because everybody's talking about, the change starts on the inside. And I'm like, well, kind of not, because it started because then you start feeling confident, you start feeling like high energy, and like I want others to feel like this. And I don't know. I think maybe it's particularly because when we're in middle age, we're feeling like a new resurgence, of life. Totally. And so by just getting involved in health and fitness, it was a pathway, like this light bulb moment of sorts.
100%. I mean, I think it's interesting how just going into that health and wellness and really starting to focus on yourself and your body and how just taking care of yourself in that way totally changes your mindset too. When you are, putting good food in your body and you're moving, and, that really just changes your whole mindset. And, there's such a shift with that. So yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just it's a huge gateway. And I've seen so many women, moms go through that same transition. You get the body for, not the body necessarily, but you get, moving, and you get even if it's just a little bit of success, but start feeling amazing. Like even just moving and getting those endorphins going, how that changes our brains, right? So I 100% agree.
Yeah. And I also, and this is sad, but I see how it happens, is that as a health and fitness coach, I found that I had so many nurses that because they were caring about other people and they weren't caring about themselves. So I can definitely see where kind of you started to see, oh, I need to take care of myself.
Totally. Well, even as I was transitioning over to more looking at, support and emotional resiliency training and all of that, the nurses are absolutely a piece of that as well, because, certainly, being in that healthcare field, I always had a lot of nurses come to me because of the health and wellness piece, and then still see them come because of the resiliency and support. Because it's interesting, I was at a conference last fall, and there was a room of about 1,000 nurses that were there, and they asked the question, how many in this room are either looking at moving on from taking care of patients at the bedside, or already have? And I would say probably about 80% of that room or more raised their hand. So it was really, that showing how much there's so much burnout and so much stress. And there are programs, but I don't know, again, how many nurses are tapping into that, just like how many parents are tapping into that. Sometimes it feels like it's hard to get away to do something like even going to a gym or going to, a support group or anything like that. And so I think that online piece is a lot more convenient for people in a lot of ways, that they can reach out at their convenience and get training, get support when it's convenient for them. And I think that's what I love about this opportunity as well.
Yes. It is a job of, kind of, I think the more experience you get, the more flexibility, but it's for a long time, it's not at all.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I being in the technology field, I've been very fortunate because I've worked in corporate companies where, you, especially since we've had the internet, where, I can work from home today.
Yeah.
And you can't do that in nursing.
Right.
Or, I can wear jeans to work.
Yeah. Right. Totally. Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
So tell me, one of the things I'm curious about is because support is important. So that support network is amazing, I think. But it sounds like you blend in. Like, I think that to me, if I was really worried about my child who was sick, I would like totally neglect myself. And that I would just like nothing mattered but that child.
Right.
So you kind of try to help people with like focusing on themselves as they're going through that as well.
Yeah, I think, it's really interesting everybody's at different stages. And sometimes when you're in that acute, you got to focus on your kids at that acute time. Just like you said, when your daughter was going through that, or when, kids are first diagnosed, there's a lot going on and you're still learning. Absolutely. Those are, I think, some times you do focus on them. Absolutely. But I think then there does get to be a point, even with, the cancer parents that I've worked with, that, things start to get kind of into a phase of, we've got this, we're kind of going down our, what's going on. We're not in the acute scariness right now. But there's still a lot that's coming up for us. And that's the time that I think, is better for them to be able to tap in if they know about it. I've talked to parents that, their child was in the hospital for maybe 7 months, 8 months, and didn't realize until 2 years later there was even support available for them at the location they were being treated at. Yet if they were able to, they're on their phones all the time, they're, sitting in their kids' room and trying to pass the time or do things. And so, if they are able to tap into something, excuse me, that I can, that they can get some support right then and there, that they say that that would be helpful as well. And of course, those parents that are, the kids are doing great, or it's 5 years, 10 years out, and they're still really having that struggle, but their kid is, doing great and moving on. How do we tap into that? So there's different stages, and I think it's different for everybody, but helping them know that this resource is available for them, as there are many resources available out there, but that they can, choose what works best for them.
Right. So how do you feel? Like, I like to ask what, like, psychologically, a lot of people are thinking that they should be slowing down, or they think, well, I should have it all together by now. I'm in my 50s.
Yeah.
Why don't I know what I want to do yet?
Right.
So what kind of advice can you give to people like that?
Gosh, I have always been a dreamer, I say, because it's just been a part of me. So just because even my 40s, now that I've hit my 50s, like, it's just a piece of me that I'm like, we don't have to, and I will agree that I think there have been times that I've been like, oh, I'm too late to the game, I'm too, old to do this, whatever. But then I look, like, I used to say that in my 20s, I was too young. So when is the right age, really? So, you just move on. It is what it is. And we're still young, we're still vibrant, and, you can always just jump in and try new things. I think it's, great that I've been able to, tap into another piece of, I don't know, this online world that I discovered, I guess, and be able to feel like I'm providing such value to people when I've been working with clients or they've reached out to me, that it's been very rewarding and very fulfilling. And just another way, I always say nursing is a great profession, and that there's a lot of different things you can do within the profession, but even this is just another avenue that you can take and create something. So age really is irrelevant. And, if you feel like it's in you and, you want to just provide value and serve others in whatever way, I say go for it. Like, it's totally, awesome.
Yeah, when I was doing the intro, writing the intro for this, just an audio intro for my show, I actually said that the people that are our age should start thinking about their age as their superpower.
Yeah.
Instead of letting it hold them back, because, like, all the wisdom, all the experience, all the knowledge, all the stuff that we think, we dismiss that because we just think, oh, age, too old, not enough time left. And honestly, we don't know how much time we have left. So we could have a lot more time left than a 25-year-old's walking around with, like, a big year plan. So, or 10-year plan. I just like to do 5-year plans. I don't want to do 10-year plans. So I'm going to do 5.
So true. So true.
So one thing I like to ask all my guests is, what were or are your technology skills? Because I think that lets people get held back from that.
Yeah. I would say it's interesting, because I would say I'm not a tech person at all, but I'm also a person who is pretty stubborn and doesn't give up. So I'm going to figure it out. And so whether I whatever I have to do to figure that out, whether I, just look online and figure it out, or phone a friend, or whatever I need to do, I'm going to sit there at it. So I feel like I'm pretty persistent with that. But, naturally, I wouldn't say I'm a tech person, but it all is out there. It all is, available for us to figure out. And that's why I love, being in the group that we are in together, is being able to connect with other people that are doing this, because you have that great connection and just say, hey, have you tried this? And what do you, recommend, or what's worked for you? And being able to have that support network together has been fabulous, and so amazing for me and helpful for me in my growth.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to know when you first, because based on my experience, and I don't know why I didn't start sooner, but last year in October, when I signed up for James' mastermind, I never had my own coach. Never had my own coach. And I look back and I think if you think of maybe a school teacher mentor or something, but think how long ago that was.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
maybe a boss in a job, but that's specific. That's
Yeah.
not about your life. That's
Yeah.
about corporate objectives.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what? Like, I just I want to preach that to people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if you don't know what you want to do, find a coach that you connect with, that you
Yeah.
like, somebody that you kind of can relate to,
Yeah.
and help them guide you. It's like so worth it to
Oh my
find
God.
somebody who knows more than you and can kind of like light the way for,
Yeah.
for your path, because um that's been probably the priceless part. It's like,
Yeah.
how much would you pay for a coach? That's kind of priceless, I think.
Yeah.
For Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. When
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%. Because I first got actually a coach. My first coach I invested in probably 6 months before I joined the group.
Okay.
And it was a huge investment. It was like something I'd never done before, but it was also so amazing because, like you said, having a boss at a job is about their objectives. Versus your life objectives, and really working through, the things, and focus on, unlike, and I love and I will promote therapy to people all day long, because I think that is a super amazing and helpful thing that more people need to do as well. But coaching is so much more specific to just looking at, where do you want to go forward? Let's not, focus on, the last 20, 30 years of your life, because that's really not getting us anywhere. That's not getting us making progress. Whatever was in our past was in our past, and let's look at where we want to move forward in the future. And so it was such a faster transition working with a coach to kind of jump forward in my growth. And then working with James, just up leveled that even more. So,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's totally worth it.
I love that. I think that's the best description that I've heard, is it's a way forward instead of trying to like understand and identify what happened in the past, and just so what made you, was it something you saw online, or what was it that made you take that step? You knew you needed
initially.
Yeah.
It was I just feel like, the universe just puts things in my lap at different times. And I had been doing some courses online and connected with this person who I didn't even know was coaching at the time. And we just started chatting, and I was just trying to figure out my way still. And she was like, hey, let's jump on a call. So we chatted with each other and really connected, and just decided to give that a whirl. So, sometimes you just got to make the leap. Like, I love, like what James says all the time is, leap and the net will appear. And I've fully embraced that several times in the last 18 months, and have just made that leap and trusted that for whatever reason, this is coming into my life for a purpose. And so I've, made those leaps, and I've never regretted it. Like, it's been amazing for my life. So yeah.
If you had asked me probably like 5 or 6 years ago if I liked learning, I would have said no, because it was the traditional model that I didn't like. And it was because every single course I took was not what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's more, I think there's more opportunity for people to learn in different ways, and more ways to find kind of, how do I figure out what I want to do? There's more openness. Like you can you can go to somebody's job and intern like now, where you really couldn't do that before. So I just went into what my parents, and then I did it for like a couple of months, because I was a substitute teacher when my parents were teachers, and I hated it. So unfortunately, I learned that before I got my degree. So I quit school and then became a waitress, and then took the roundabout way, fell into technology, but still it wasn't. And so I like on the job learning a lot. And I feel like the online space has given me now I know that I'm a curiosity. I'm so curious. I like love to learn new things. And I think that keeps us young. I think it keeps us vital. I think it keeps us interesting. So if anything I would like to say to my audience, which you made me think of, is I think we need to continue to expose ourselves to new things,
Mhm.
and learn and challenge ourselves to keep us young.
100%. I think I love that quote by Tony Robbins. I think says, if we're not growing, we're dying. And the same way, like, I have a couple of degrees, and it's that traditional sense, but I have always grown and learned more no matter what I'm doing. If I'm just attending a conference or going to, a corporate event, or learning online or whatever, like I learn better the same way. Just being curious and saying, hey, asking those questions and figuring out as I go. And so yeah, totally get that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So the coaching thing has been really key for me, and then the networking. I mean, and I if it's whatever you need in terms of support,
yeah,
whether if you're growing a business, network with other business owners. If you're trying to, help your child through cancer, find a network of people who are going through the same thing. If you're trying to get in shape, find a network of people who are trying to do the same thing. If you're whatever you're trying to do, if you're trying to learn how to do a triathlon, try to like our friends in our group. So I just think that the whole net, that a lot of people kind of dismiss too how important that is. And after experiencing it, it's like, it's the people that I've been around have said, it's like the quote you just said reminded me of it, is, if you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
If you're answering all the questions, then go in a new room. Unless you're
right. Exactly. Well, I think as humans, we're just built for connection. So that's where having those groups that have like-minded, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's business, whether it's emotional, resiliency, whatever, finding that community that really gets you, find your tribe. So key, so important.
Yeah, and you were staying in an Airbnb with people that you didn't know a year ago. That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, just
so yeah, I was just like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Yeah.
All right. I love this question. What has been your most inspiring client story?
Oh gosh.
Stories are so amazing. And you said that people keep in touch with you.
Yeah.
I love to hear stories of
gosh, I think probably my most recent story that I love is it actually was the kind of the catalyst for moving me into this whole business world and getting back into supporting cancer families. Is a very good friend of ours that actually lives on our block. Our kids grew up together, and they're both 21. And last year he got diagnosed with leukemia. And it was totally a shock for us because I had lived in that world, as a nurse for so many years. And then to have my friends say, hey, Logan's got leukemia. And it was like very surreal, very scary, very surreal. But I just like jumped in immediately and, did what I needed to do to kind of help them on the other end of things. So being their support, being their kind of bridge to understand this whole new world of theirs, because they were not healthcare people at all. And so, we talk about this all the time, how and I think that happens a lot with families when they go through something like that. Is it certainly changes you. You certainly grow a lot from it. But she'll say all the time that she couldn't have gone through that year without me, because we really, I was there to try to be as real as I could with her. I didn't try to sugarcoat a lot of things. And so if there was something that the, hospital, the doctors were telling her, or she was hearing or not quite and I knew she wasn't quite understanding, it's like, here's the reality. Let's, talk about what we can do, what's reality and what is also hopeful. And let's just keep moving on. Like, we don't need to be stuck in what we've been told necessarily as, outcomes or percentages, all those kind of things, because everybody's an experiment of one. But how can we get past this and still be strong for him and do whatever we need to do. And then even beyond that, now that he's doing amazing, just seeing, we've had a lot of conversations about how to heal now and change kind of that thought process, because she still gets super triggered with text messages and things that go off that, oh my gosh, what's on the other end of that? And so how can we really look at reprogramming that wiring that got wired because of this? Because our brains get wired when we have traumatic events. And whether we call it a traumatic event or not, that our child got cancer, in my mind, I feel like it is, because it's something very, distressing to us, even if, it's not us directly having the cancer. So, how can we look at reprogramming and rewiring that piece of her brain that got so triggered during this, so that she can just rest and not, be up half the night listening to dings on text messages and worrying that the shoe is going to drop,
Yeah.
So that's been one of the greatest things, to just see her make that progress and, be able to move forward that. And it's not an overnight thing, but it's something that she's been also very willing to go through that process. So.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting how what at the time seems like one of the worst things, ends up turning you to like in a direction that I think you're meant to be in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And in hindsight, it's like, wow, the valley, but then there's the you get to the mountain and it's beautiful. So
yeah, totally.
So speaking of that, you talked a little bit about mindset, but mindset of your clients. So how has mindset helped you as you've gone, and there, there's lots of struggle in doing this, and lots of fear, and lots of like, can I do this?
Yeah.
Is this really, am I just nuts?
Yeah. Totally. Well, again, like it is, being an entrepreneur and building a business and doing this, especially online, it is scary. There's a lot of stuff that comes up. I think no matter how much, I feel like I've really worked on building a lot of my own resiliency and my emotional awareness and all of that, but there's still stuff that comes up, and that's, I think, just a natural human thing. But I think when we are willing to take that step, and like we were talking about before, like just investing in a coach or having that person, that community around you. It reminds me of the story of the hero's journey, where, you have, this journey that you're going through, basically into the depths of despair, depths of this dungeon, and to fight these dragons. And, but there's this person, that kind of guide that helps you along the way and helps you kind of through that whole process and up into the other side, like we were saying. And I just feel like that is so true of finding that coach, or finding that mastermind, or group that is just your tribe, that gets you and can say, hey, I see, you're really struggling here, let me pull you along and help you, and vice versa. And then we do it for each other. So I think that is just helpful, whether we're coaching others, when we're coaching our clients in whatever entity or business we are, whether it's health and wellness or emotional, trauma, resiliency, or whatever aspect we're in, to have that guide and, along the way as we go, because it is scary. We are human, and we're always going to be a little bit afraid, but it's also saying, hey, I'm willing to take that leap, and I'm going to have this person that, can help me along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's I know you're familiar with Jim Fortin. What does he say? Yeah. They were beings having a human experience.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I've really connected with, the 12 universal laws, and how the universe is always working for us, not against us, and how mindset has, like, when you think negative, you actually attract that. And so much of that stuff that I loved the law of attraction when it came out, because I loved Oprah. Oh my God. I watched her
all the time,
taped her shows when
Same.
I was like so sad when her show went off the air. I was like, oh my God. My aunt was actually on her show.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
They have a love reconnection story. Anyways. So I digress. But yeah, so I remember I think she talked about The Secret, and she had a webinar series, and this was before even webinars were a thing, really. And she did it on the book that he had, Eckhart Tolle's book, A New World, I think is the way, and that those, just so audience knows this, they are on, each chapter is on YouTube. So you can Google A New World chapter 1 or whatever, but there's 10 chapters, and she did a webinar every Monday night, and she and him got on and broke down and talked about the chapter. And it's almost like, finding James and following his podcast, because that was kind of my stepping stone into this.
Yeah.
It kind of like was like, oh yeah, that's that. Oprah was the like, and then it's kind of slowly been in the back of my mind, and it's like there's something about this whole law of attraction and the other universal laws, and how, and then you start looking back at your life and how many things that you didn't want to happen to you happened because you were actually in your mind thinking maybe negative thoughts about them, and even if whether they're negative or positive, they come to you, and so that has not just mindset, but kind of this whole understanding of how, like who our creator, everybody has a different version of who that is, but how that plays into your role being here and what we're doing and the path we're supposed to be taking. So that's going probably a little bit deeper than
okay. I love all that stuff.
We can go on and on.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny, I look back at my path. Gosh, I had actually thought about doing, creating my own business and all of this back in the 90s. I was following Tony Robbins a lot, and had thought about that. And that was like, the internet was like not even barely a thing then. And so it wasn't even much that. It was like even just doing like, building it kind of without the internet at that time. And then, had kids and got, busy with life and all of that kind of stuff. But again, I was always into, Oprah or anything like that was just uplifting and, just helped you think differently. I don't know. I just always was drawn to that sort of thing. So yeah, when The Secret came out, love that. And, just anything around that. And I see her interviewing Eckhart Tolle all the time.
He's somebody who really, he had kind of like this, like he was suicidal and he had this like breakdown moment. I don't know if you ever follow Elizabeth, what's her, Gilbert of You Pray and Love. She kind of had a similar experience, but yeah, he's just very, I think he's way, whoa, but like, as she was talking to him and interviewing him, like kind of understand him.
Yeah.
That webinar series was when I was going through kind of like my, I think at the time I was still married, but it helped me a lot through a really bad, and I learned a lot. It really helped me at the core.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think all that stuff and, doing a little inward work is good for all of us. So, what are you most looking forward to in 2020?
Oh gosh. I am looking forward to, I have so many things in my brain and things I'm like wanting to do and bring to life. So that's all very exciting. I think the biggest thing is really just continued growth. I always do a vision board at the beginning of the year. I've been doing that the last several years. And I always pick a word at the beginning of the year. This year was growth. And holy cow, I always said, I think I posted this recently on my Facebook page. It was like, when you be careful on what you ask for or put down as your word for the year and what comes about, because holy moly, the growth journey I've been on this year has been like skyrocketing. So I'm appreciative of that. I'm super grateful of that. And I don't want that to end just because the year ends and I maybe pick a new word. So I am excited for the growth journey I'm on, not only personally, but in my business, and being able to be out there serving others and helping these parents that I just know are searching still, in a lot of areas for that help.
Right. Great. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. We've gone longer than 30 minutes, but I'm all for, if it's like interesting conversation, let's keep going. I could talk forever. All right. So tell me where, and actually one of the reasons I wanted to get on live with Kelly, and most of my interviews are going to be recorded, but I will occasionally go live and with my guests who are brave. And because the live format is, some people still can't like, they're scared about it. But yeah, so I want to know, she is doing, I just want you to tell people where they can find you, but she is doing a webinar on Wednesday night, and she's opening up her program. And so I'm not exactly sure what format your webinar is in, but if you just want to share that quickly, and her link on how to, if you are interested in joining that webinar, I'll put it in the comments below, or maybe even in the description. I think I can put in the description.
Yeah.
But I'll put everywhere
Awesome.
so people can find you. But also, I want people to please share this with anybody that you know that could find or need support in this area, because I thought Kelly's message was like so important to get out there. And I just wanted to have her here to, because people don't know about this stuff. People don't know that there's programs that can help them.
Right.
So tell me exactly, you know, what's your format of your webinar? Is it, do you teach something on it, or?
Yeah. So I have, it's about a 60-minute webinar, so 45 to 60 minutes, and it's called Raise Your Resiliency. So it's the 6 steps to learn how to, you know, kind of overcome any obstacle. And so we go through a few of those, and, you know, just so it's a free training that I want to provide a lot of value. There's some giveaways that I'm, and PDFs that I'll have for those that are on the webinar. And so I'll have those available. And then my program, the Resilient Soul Formula, will open up for the next week after that. So I'm excited for new students to come in, and really just to get that support for people that are really still searching for what works for them. And if this can work for somebody, I'm all for it. I'm happy to have it there and see if it works.
Resiliency, what? You said it really fast.
So the webinar is Raise Your Resiliency, and then my program is the Resilient Soul Formula.
Resilient Soul Formula. Oh, I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori, so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
All right. And we'll see each other in the group. We have a Facebook group for all those people, those unlucky people who aren't a part of it.
Bye.